Hello, everybody. I'm Ricky Smith. Welcome to Faith on Friday Presents. At Faith on Friday Presents, our goal is to drive motivation by closing the door on the comfort zone, to foster inspiration by showing you what's possible, and to create transformation by challenging those negative mindsets. And while you're here, don't forget, subscribe to this YouTube channel, like our Facebook page, and follow us on Instagram. Okay, trauma. We all have had some form of trauma, whether it was from childhood or something happened to us in our adulthood that stops us, that keeps us from moving forward, or that keeps reoccurring in our hearts and our minds, which messes up everything from our work life to our relationships. But you know what? There's hope. Today, I want to introduce you to somebody who's going to talk to us about trauma, about help and hope, but we're going to get into it all. Everybody, please say hello to Karen Robinson. Hey, Karen, how are you?
Hey Ricky, thank you for hosting me.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. This, Karen, is one of those topics that so many people go through, but so few people talk about. But before we get into that, Karen, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're located.
Well, first, I am located in Alexandria, Virginia. I'm originally from Maine, and
Mm.
a little bit about me is I am also a complex trauma survivor. And somehow, despite my best efforts to just be a general therapist, trauma survivors tend to flock to me. And
Yeah.
thus, I specialize in trauma recovery.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. So let's just jump in. So you said you yourself are a trauma survivor. Are you willing to share a little bit about what you'd gone through and how you got to where you are right now as a trauma therapist?
Sure, I will try to be very succinct. I know that's important. I grew up in a really dysfunctional home where there was domestic violence and child abuse. We also lived way below the poverty line. As a young child, I attempted suicide. I was so desperate to leave. And by the
Mm,
grace of God, he says, it's not your time.
yeah.
I ended up running away a couple years later. My aunt and uncle took me in, and I thrived under their care. I got a
Mm.
full ride to university, and then I went on to get my master's degree in social work.
Oh my gosh. So you pretty much told the story of the majority of the people listening. You know, so many of us have gone through some sort of a trauma, whether it was in the family, like we said earlier, or it's something that happened to us outside of that family. But you got out and survived and thrived. So, yay, you. That's awesome. You know what I heard though is that at a young age, you attempted suicide. That's so tough to hear. But again, it's one of those things that people have attempted, many, but very few people talk about it. Karen, what is it that gives you the courage to talk about what you've gone through and to help others?
That is an amazing question, and this is why. I didn't always talk about it either.
Mm-hmm.
It took me, I used to work for the Department of Defense, and I had a long career, and I did school social work. I did a lot of different things, but I did not tell my story until I decided to be an entrepreneur.
Wow.
And as an entrepreneur, you've got to put yourself out there. And
Yeah.
I can't tell my clients that I'm trying to build a business if I can't put myself out there and share my stuff. So
Yeah.
that was I guess, the start of me just saying, you know what, it's time to share.
Yeah. How difficult was that for you?
Actually, I found it to be very freeing.
Mm-hmm.
The judgment I thought I would have, or like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't trust her as a therapist. Like she's maybe
Wow.
kind of batshit crazy. Okay, am I allowed to say that?
You're
Um,
okay.
but it's just the opposite. My clients have really just appreciated that I kind of get
Mm-hmm.
some of the dark places they've been in. So
Yeah.
I'm more relatable to them.
Yeah, I like that being relatable because so many people who have trauma and are surviving, not necessarily thriving, but surviving, there's a difference. They don't tell the story. for whatever reason, like you said, whether it be fear of judgment, fear of it coming back on them again, or if I admit it, then it draws me back in. And you said it was freeing. So somebody listening right now, and they're like, yeah, I know what you mean, but I don't think I can. What two or three things can you tell them when it comes to starting to share your story?
Yeah. Well, first, writing about it just for yourself, like your own journal, just allowing to get your thoughts and feelings on paper is
Mm,
hugely freeing as well because when we think, our thoughts tend to be circular. When we
mhm,
write, we tend to go to deeper levels. So then you can take your writing, if you feel ready, and share it with somebody that you trust. It could be a
mhm,
friend, a family member, or your therapist or coach, somebody you trust.
mhm.
After that stuff, if you're more ready to be public, you can either go on podcasts, be on summits, conferences, be a speaker, maybe even write your own memoir, which I'm in the process
Wow.
of writing now for myself.
Good for you. You know, there are so many folks out there who have written their memoir based on their traumas. You know, you said that these trauma survivors or victims, if you will, they're being drawn to you. Do you think that is because of your story, your ability to share what you've gone through?
I think it's partly that, but it was
Mm.
happening to way before. I actually think it's just God, honestly.
Yeah.
You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people I worked with, even in my early career, they're like, wow, God must have sent you to me because
Yeah.
I've had a lot of other therapists, some with even more experience, and they weren't hearing me and they didn't get me.
hmm And that's important, especially when you're going through something like this trauma in your life, whether it's sexual, verbal, physical, whatever the trauma is. You need somebody that gets it. There's nothing worse than trying to explain to somebody what happened and they're looking at you like, why didn't you just leave? You know what I mean? Why didn't you just
Yeah.
get out? If it were that simple, right? It's so hard. It makes me think of, you know, women that were in abusive relationships, you know, whether you married an abuser or whatever, and you try to tell people how bad this was, and they're looking at you going, I would never have gone through that. Why didn't you just leave? And you feel a little deflated, right? So I guess that's how come it's so important to tell your story to somebody that you can trust. So now, moving forward as a therapist, you see quite a few folks. How did you start to specialize in something like this?
hmm Yeah. I think when I made a decision to leave the Department of Defense, well, one of the reasons I decided to leave is I filed 22 EEO complaints for sexual harassment
Wow.
over a period of time. And then, I mean, I didn't leave right after filing,
Mm-hmm.
I was there for a while.
Oh
But
my
when I
gosh.
decided I wanted my own company, my own practice, my own business,
Mm-hmm.
I had to really think about where I could best serve, and trauma it popped up. And so at
Yeah.
that point, I really focused even more on all my different certifications of evidence-based practices. So
Mm-hmm.
every trauma modality that's been proven by research to be effective, I have
Mm-hmm.
all my certifications in every one of those, plus other modalities that aren't evidence-based at this point. So I've really
Wow.
dug in and like I'm all in on this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm sure your clients are super excited that you did. So, you know, do you work with children as well?
I do. I don't have any children on my caseload right now. I have some students in high school and some college students, but I
Okay.
have worked with kids. I work with all ages. Yep.
Okay. And the reason I ask that question is because as adults, sometimes we think, believe, feel for whatever reason that the kids' trauma is something they're going to grow out of. Can you speak to that?
I wish it was that simple. Even if children can't remember their trauma because it was so devastating
Mhm.
or it was because they were pre-verbal, our bodies never, ever forget anything. So that
Wow.
trauma is stored in our cells and that can look like having serious medical issues, mental health issues, or
Mm,
even like moral injuries, like questioning our faith and being upset with God and you're not sure
yeah.
why. It could
Hmm.
be because of your traumas.
Yeah. And then as a kid, like you said, the pre-verbal, as you grow up, you don't know how to say it. You don't know where to begin. And then you take on that, maybe it's just me.
Yeah, that happens a lot, especially if but one of the other symptoms or problems of being a survivor is our relationships can be pretty daunting. Like if
Hmm.
we don't have that secure attachment, from childhood, it's really hard to trust
Yeah.
others. It's really hard to know how to communicate. And it's really even hard to trust ourselves, which is
Hmm.
really our first relationship, right?
Right.
And so there's so many things that can happen that make us feel like I must be stupid, defective, there's something wrong with me. And the truth is, had that trauma not happened, we may not struggle so much with those negative beliefs.
Yeah. And then those negative beliefs, we literally carry them through our everyday life to work, to the grocery store, to everywhere we are, you know, and all of those
Mhm.
things go with us. So in the folks that you talk to, how do you see these things manifesting in people's day-to-day life?
Yeah, it's the symptoms are a wide range.
Hmm.
However, it doesn't seem to matter what type of trauma. Like it could be a sexual assault or even a combat trauma.
Hmm.
Symptoms can be similar, but the intensity is also a thing to consider. But a huge symptoms for survivors is usually some sort of sleep issue. It could be what we call onset, meaning difficult to fall asleep,
Hmm.
or maintenance issues, meaning it's hard to stay asleep. And this could
Hmm.
be because the anxiety, that hyperarousal is so strong, it's hard to feel safe enough in our bodies and it comes
Right.
out during sleep.
Oh,
It
wow.
could be that we have a lot of worries, or it could be regrets from things from the past. Like it can be pretty complicated, but sleep is usually the number one issue.
That's so
Other
true.
survivors is some sort of disordered eating, whether it's restricting or emotionally eating, binge eating.
Hmm.
The whole spectrum of eating disorders can happen with trauma. Survivors tend to struggle with money. They either
Really?
overspend,
Huh.
overspending as coping, or being too mean to themselves and not spending anything. So a lot
Wow.
of the survivors, we have a lot of all or nothing thinking,
Hmm.
and that
Hmm.
plays out in any kind of area that you can even think about.
Yeah. I never thought
We
about
tend to
that
be,
all or nothing.
yeah, and we tend to be overdoers, overworkers, overachievers, that
Yeah.
people pleasing. And maybe if I
Whew.
work hard enough, I will be loved. I will be
Yeah.
good enough.
Hmm.
I could go
That
on all
makes
day.
sense.
So
I
that was
know,
not a
but
great question for me.
it was a perfect question for you. What are you talking about? It's awesome. So I live in a predominantly military community. So you hear a lot of this, from our soldiers, guys and gals in the military. Thank you all for your service, by the way. They deal with a lot of sleep issues, but it's the all or nothing that I had never really thought of. So I'm a child of trauma as well. As a lot of women are like, girl, yeah, who isn't? Had all the things and still grew up and managed. And that is literally all I was doing at the time. I was just managing. So let me ask you, Karen, how do you go from striving, surviving to thriving? How do you get there?
I think it's just sort of making a decision that no matter what, you are going to heal. And
Hmm.
remembering that healing is not linear. It's something that's time intensive. You got
Yeah.
to decide that you're worth that.
Oh,
And
that's
then
good.
I have what I call six pillars of holistic healing that I kind of work with my clients on.
Hmm.
And it's just setting little baby steps, little baby goals in each of those pillars, not all at the same time. It
Hmm.
depends on where they're already at in their healing journey. And I'm like, okay, let's look at your spirituality. What's one baby goal we could do for that? Let's look
Yeah.
at your relationships. What's one action step you can do to help your relationships get on track?
Hmm.
Let's look at your mental health. and so forth.
Yeah.
I think that's
Wow.
the best suggestion I have for that.
No, that is a great suggestion because it makes me think of the things, again, that all or nothing when you're talking about a trauma survivor. Okay, I've decided I'm going to do better. And so we will go from doing better to going all the way in at 9,000 miles an hour. And if it's not done by 4:30, p.m., I'm now a failure.
Right. On top of
Again,
everything
that
else.
yeah, exactly. And we keep heaping stuff on ourselves to do better. And it made me laugh when you were saying the people pleasing, because a lot of folks that listen to this know I am a reformed people pleaser. And of course it came from that childhood trauma. And I thought if I could do better, be smarter, be, anything, be thinner, be nicer, be smarter,
Perfect.
be perfect, right? And
Because
so
perfect people don't have any trauma or bad stuff happen to them.
well, yeah, right? That was my thinking. But it's when you realize, like you said, it happens over time, not overnight. So giving yourself some grace. So when somebody says, someone listening to this, watching this, they're like, that's me. I'm ready. I need to be okay. And they've made the decision. Now they're looking for a therapist. Karen, what should somebody who's dealing with trauma look for in a therapist? Because are all therapists created equal and I can just go to one? What should someone look for?
I know you caught my look. All right. So this question, I wish all podcast hosts asked me this question. You might be the first, maybe the second.
Mm,
So there's this thing called trauma informed care. Your
okay.
therapist should be a little more than trauma informed. Like you can go
Wow.
to a trauma informed dentist or a trauma informed physical trainer. But
Hmm.
with your therapy, if you are a complex trauma survivor, I need you to look for a trauma competent therapist.
Okay.
Competent is a bigger word than informed. It means they really have done the research, they've gotten certifications, they've studied trauma.
Wow.
They are well equipped to pivot with you. So if one form of
Hmm.
trauma therapy doesn't work, they don't go, oh, well, you just are you're failing therapy or
Wow.
I can't do this. And I hear this every day
Oh
in my
my gosh.
practice, this happening to people. A good trauma competent therapist can pivot. You're not responding to modality. Okay, that's fine. That's
That's good to
normal.
know. Right.
Let's try another.
Wow. I I don't even know where to go from this because there's so many things that are flying around in my head. Trauma informed reminds me of, like some people on resumes, they'll put down that they have this thing as a skill, which meant they
Yeah,
did it in school one time.
one time.
One
One time,
time.
little
Yeah,
course. A
one time.
workshop, 2 hours.
You
Do you
know,
want
I
to see
was,
someone that went to one workshop for 2 hours, or do you want to see someone who's worked on certifications, like really busted their butt and try to learn the material and apply
yeah,
it and practice it? And
that
when you
is
go
so
through
good.
certifications, you have to have the therapy actually done to you, so you kind of know like if
That's
you
good.
like it or not,
That is
right?
so good. So, if somebody wanted to go to a therapist, are there questions that they can ask or should ask prior to actually maybe making an appointment or even at their first appointment?
Mhm. Yeah, I would ask like what evidence-based therapy modalities do you use? And
Hmm.
what does that mean? What do they look like? Can you pivot? Some therapists who are trauma competent will only use one therapy because it's their favorite.
Hmm.
And it's not supposed to be about the therapist, it's supposed to be about the client, right?
Right. Hmm.
So I think that's kind of where I would start is other than the insurance question, if you need to
Hmm.
use insurance and um also the trauma competent therapist has to work in the state that you live in
Okay.
if you want to use insurance.
Hmm. It's good to know.
Otherwise, there's workarounds, but I don't know if I should really talk about those.
Yeah, let's
Um,
not.
yeah, so with trauma therapy, it's the modality I think is the most important piece. Oh,
Hmm.
and another thing that drives me nuts about therapists, and they're my people, right? But still,
Right.
is the ones that only will talk 8 to 4 or 9 to 5. Like, There's real stuff
Mm,
that happens after hours. Is there an
yeah.
emergency number? My clients can call me day or night. If I don't
Wow.
answer, they know to leave me a message or a text and I will respond as soon as I can.
Yeah.
They also know that I don't appreciate attacks if they're standing at, the edge of a bridge ready to jump. Like we have contracts in place about
Okay.
what's an
That's good to know.
appropriate time to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, like is your therapist going to be available to you other than like the 9 to 5?
Mm-hmm. Man, I'm listening to all this, and this is such great information. The one thing that strikes me right now, Karen, is the sound of your voice is so soothing. I'm just like, yes, whatever you say, because when you know this, when you've gone through trauma, what you don't need is somebody that is hyped up on caffeine all day and they're just, they're vibrating at a whole nother level. And you're sitting there, you're like, now this is making me anxious. But you have a very soothing, very calming voice. And I think that's very
Yeah,
neat.
thank you.
And I bet it's probably important though, too.
No, I have a client who's overseas right now.
Mhm.
He's called, but not for therapy because we can't do therapy since he's overseas. He has to see somebody locally now until he
Mhm.
moves back. And he says, I just had to hear your voice. It's so soothing. I'm
I
like,
believe
okay.
it. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is soothing. Y'all that are listening to this and hearing this, comment in the corners in the comments how soothing her voice is because I think it's amazing. Karen, let me ask you, if somebody wanted to reach out to you to either ask you questions, follow up on this particular conversation, or learn more about you, where's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah. I have two websites. The oldie is healthrivedream.com. I have a new corporation because of my retreats and all kinds of new
Mm,
things I'm doing. I'm being certified in even more modalities that are not
awesome.
just trauma. They
Hmm.
include energy healing. And so my
Okay.
new website is called HTD Holistic Services.com.
Okay.
HTD Holistic Services.com.
Perfect. And on there, we're going to see all the good things about you, what you do, everything.
Yes, you'll see my podcast, my blog posts, my summits, the retreats, all kinds of all the different modalities I can help people with. I also do spiritual counseling, Christian
Awesome.
counseling, whatever you need. I've been in the field of healing for over 27 years now.
Oh my gosh. So you are well equipped. You are more than just informed. You are definitely competent.
Thank you. I really appreciate
No
that.
worries. Hey, don't worry, everybody. If you didn't get all of her contact information, everything is going to be in the description below. And don't forget, share this with your network. Like our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram, and don't forget, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Karen, my friend, before I let you go, we got to play a game. So this game is super simple. It's called This or That. I'm going to give you the choice of a couple of things, and you just tell me which one you like the best. Are you ready to play, my friend?
Amen.
All right, let's do this. Or Burger King?
I'm sorry, I'm overcomplicating it. I'm going to say McDonald's because of the fries.
That is the only answer there is in the world anyway, just so you know.
Okay, okay.
I like sports or I don't care.
I like sports,
Really, what's your favorite sport?
basketball.
Really? See, I'm not a basketball fan. I'm a huge football fan. How funny. Clap back or bite your tongue?
Bite your tongue.
I could see that about you. Yeah, I could see you biting your tongue, but inside there's probably all kind of things going on.
You know it.
Yeah. Wild, are you a wallflower or life of the party?
Well, Ricky, your game is so hard. I'm an ambivert. I'm 50-50.
Oh, how fun. I love that term. So when you're on, and when you're off, you're off.
Yeah, I can be
Okay.
both of those people. But
Okay.
I certainly can be really fun. I'm also a Gemini, which means very angelic and also very devilish. Take your pick.
So basically it's situational is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm not mad about that. All right. Night owl or morning person?
Another hard one, but originally night owl.
Okay. This is the first time I've ever heard anybody say that the game is hard because it's all about you. But that's interesting. All right.
Well,
And
because I'm
finally,
very complicated.
I
I'm
see
very
that you
complicated.
have
Yeah.
facets like a 32 carat diamond. I love that so much.
Oh, I love that.
And finally, my friend, finish this sentence. I have a ridiculous amount of blank.
Books.
Okay. So you are the reader of books versus seeing the movie, right?
Yes, I have 7 bookshelves in my house, and one is double-sided.
Oh my gosh.
It's insane. It's insane.
That's actually not a bad thing. I think that's very cool. Karen, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been an absolute informative and a delightful conversation.
Thank you so much for hosting me again.
Not a problem. All right, everybody, that's it for this week, but we'll be back next week with more Faith on Friday presents.